What is going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video today we're going to talk about the finally statement in Python and what its exact effect is, how it's different from just putting code after a try except structure. So let us get right into it. Alright, now if you've done some exception handling in Python before, maybe you've asked yourself the question, why would I ever use a finally statement? Why would I ever attach a finally block to my try except structure instead of just putting some code afterwards if all I want to do is run some code after my try except structure? What's the reason to add a finally statement and not just use some code after the structure? So let's say, for example, I have a simple try except structure where I try to do some division here, 10 divided by some user input that I typecast into an integer. So let's say I can enter a number here, and then 10 is going to be divided by that number. Of course, what could happen is I could pass a 0, resulting in a 0 division error. In this case, I want to catch this and I want to print cannot divide by 0. Now, why would I add a finally statement here if I want to do some final action here? Why would I not just do the final action down here? So, of course, the final action is usually if you work with file streams or logs, you want to close the file stream, you want to release a log, you want to close the connection to a database or something like that. But why would I not just do it after my try except statement? Why would I do it in a finally statement? So let's say here final action is my print statement. I can do it like this. I can enter a valid number and I will get my final action. I can enter 0 and I will get my final action. The same thing happens if I use a finally statement. So if I use finally, the same thing happens. I can enter a valid value or I can enter a 0 and I will get the final action every time. So what's the value of this finally statement? Now, one thing that you will see is that, let's say I don't cause a 0 division error, but I cause some other exception here. Let's say I enter hello, which will result in a value error. What happens here is I get a value error, but I don't get my final action. If I use instead a finally block, this will be caught. So I will get, if I enter hello, I will still get my final action because I get into this finally block every single time. And this finally block is so powerful that I literally can't escape it. I will not be able to go around it, no matter what I do. I can even do stuff like try to exit the whole program. I can even try to go ahead and say exit here, and I will not be able, no matter what I pass, I will always get my final action, which is not the case, of course, if I just have the statement after my try except structure. Because what happens is I get my division and I exit the whole program. But the finally statement will execute every single time. It's ridiculously powerful because you cannot circumvent it. You cannot go around it. It will always execute your final action here. So also this is the case if I cause an additional exception here. So let's say I catch my 0 division error and I try to do something else. Let's just raise an exception here, raise a type error or something, doesn't really matter. If I raise an exception down here, I will also get into my finally, or actually, did I raise an exception now? Let me just try to do something else. Let's typecast hello into an integer. Yeah, I get into my finally block. If I don't do this, you will see, actually, no, what's the problem here? Oh, the problem is I don't get into my except block. Okay, this was stupid. If I try to get a 0 division error, you can see now I get a value error while handling the 0 division error, but I still get my final action here. If I remove the finally block and I pass 0, I will get my error, but I will not get my final action. Now, we can take this to a whole nother level if we do this with the exit. We saw that this works with the exit, but it also works if we try to overwrite return statements or even break statements in loops. So what we can do is, if this is a function, let's say I have my function here, and in this function I have a try except structure. What I try to do is I try to return a value, try to return a try statement. What I accept here, what I catch here, is I return an accept, and in my finally, I will return finally. Then if I print the result of my function, I will get my finally. I will always return finally because that's in my finally block, and this block overrides everything. And this also works if I have a loop, if I have a while true loop that goes on forever. I can try to do something, so I can basically try to break out of the loop, for example. And what I can do here is I can continue the loop. So let's add something in here like print hello world to see that this works. You can see that I get into this endless loop here, even though I have a break statement, but the problem is the finally statement has a continue in it, so the loop will continue. So the basic idea of the finally block is it's ridiculously powerful, you cannot escape it, it will execute no matter what. So if you have something that has to be done at all costs in your try except structure, add it to the finally block. Don't add it just afterwards, because if your script decides to terminate, to break out of a loop or something, your code will not run unless it's in the finally block. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you learned something. If so, let me know by hitting the like button and leaving a comment in the comment section down below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell to not miss a single future video for free. Other than that, thank you much for watching, see you in the next video, and bye.